God's love, elevating, energizing, empowering. Miracles happen when you know that you are loved. Peter Youngren has communicated God's love with millions from every religion and culture. Get ready for your ultimate life because you are loved.
Thank you for the opportunity of sharing with you today. And this program is about being a blessing, a strengthening to you. You know, there are people, possibly you one of those, that actually consider that their life has been cursed. Well, later on, my friend Nathan Thurber, who is with me here in the studio today, is going to share a message of a group of people that were as cursed can get, and what the answer is for that, and you'll not want to miss that. We're also celebrating, and I hope that all of you, whatever part of the country you're watching, you can celebrate with us, something great in Toronto. We just had the rededication of our building here, our ministry headquarters, and it was a great, great day. But most of all, I want you to know that we want to pray with you, believe God with you, and you can please text me. Just send me your text message, or you can contact me on the phone number that's displayed on the screen, and you can go online, etc., etc. Well, before I introduce Nathan Thurber, here's a little video about the church in Toronto. So again, if you're from another part of the country, I hope you'll stay with us and be encouraged, because it certainly also relates to where you live. Here we go.
The story of the Toronto Celebration Church is a story of God's love drawing people from different backgrounds, cultures, even religions, to be empowered to live their maximum life and to serve the community and the world.
10 years before the Toronto Celebration Church started, Peter Youngren had established a church in the Niagara region that quickly became one of the fastest growing in Canada. Peter describes, in spite of the successes in the Niagara region, I began to feel this inner nudging to start a church in Toronto. That nudging became stronger until I no longer could shake it. In September 2000, the Toronto Celebration Church was launched. Initially, services were at the Korean Garden Church in North York, and quickly people began to join themselves to the vision.
When I came here, I couldn't walk, I couldn't stand, I had a walker. But when I came to TICC, I was totally and completely miraculously healed.
TICC is family for us, for me and my husband.
One of the best things that I really like about TICC is definitely the youth ministry or the youth program.
And I'm truly blessed here by the simple message of God's unconditional love, grace, and mercy.
I found the church I've always dreamed of.
The property at 190 Railside Road was purchased in 2003. It was a miracle for such a new church to have the finances, but the generous giving family made it possible. The roof was raised to provide an auditorium suitable for worship and outreach. In 2018, exactly 18 years after the launch, we celebrate the dedication of a state-of-the-art auditorium, children's ministry facility, and an atrium suitable for enjoying quality time with friends.
That the Lord would call Peter Youngren to start a church here in Toronto is not a surprise. We are a multicultural city, and Pastor Peter's friendship festivals have taken him to more than 100 nations, where people from virtually every religion have responded to Christ's gospel. We here at the Toronto Celebration Church, we keep reaching out to the world, but we also love to reach the world right here at our doorstep.
A church is not about building. It is about people. People from every part of society, young and old. People from Asia, Europe, the islands of the sea, Africa, and across the Americas. Together creating a better society. Because to personally know God's love is the key to the ultimate life. That love that causes us to keep reaching people by sending international gospel workers to different parts of the world, and by sharing God's love at home. With plans for the World Impact Gospel Seminary degree program to host students from around the world, and in a constant pursuit to find ways to communicate the gospel of Jesus Christ to Toronto and Canada, we believe that the best is yet to come.
Well, thank you for rejoicing with us as we just celebrated a landmark here in Toronto. And Pastor Nathan Thurber is here with me. Great to see you, Nathan.
Good to be here.
People have already introduced you on that video
yeah.
clip. And it was exciting because we wanted to talk about the vision that we have. It's actually two things in this program, the vision, or we could say the mission statement, because I think that relates to people wherever they are watching, from Newfoundland to British Columbia. That will be powerful for you to consider in your area. And secondly, we're going to talk about this issue that I dealt with in the opening statement, that the curse, no matter if you're the most cursed of the cursed, that curse is broken.
That's right. We look forward to it.
But let's get on with some of the little clips we have from that special Sunday.
They're good.
So some of our, Dean Moore has interviewed some of the people who've been in the church for a long time. So let's roll with that right now.
Absolutely.
Key reason we came here is more else is just to visit, but our daughter came, and then she said she loved the kids ministry, and what a blessing the kids ministry has been, because it's laid a foundation for both of my kids. It's just a glorious church, and we're led by a great pastor, Pastor Peter, who is great in missions, not just leading on service, but leading in the world.
It's been great to be able to have a church we can come together as a family. Church is so full of grace. We're not perfect, and it's great to have a place that we can come.
We started to listen to the teachings of Pastor Peter, which we all, if you have grown up in a very religious setup, which I have grown up, we always base our life based on what they call is, for a very fancy word, which is borrowed from the Indian subcontinent, called karma, what I learned is that I need to learn to live by grace rather than karma. And that's what I learned here in this church in the last 15, 16 years. And also, when I do those first two things, obviously, what 1 John says is, behold, that brethren, that your body, soul, and spirit prospers. And that has brought prosperity to my body, soul, and spirit. So overall, TICC has helped me to enrich my body, soul, and spirit.
So I wanted to be there for the very first service, and that was very exciting. And I just remember, like, the first thing that came to me right now as they asked me about this was like joy. There was like a joy and an excitement in the place. It was just like you got so encouraged and so inspired by the preaching, and you came out of church, you were like, wow, where have I been?
And one thing I can say, I see miracles in the church. I see salvation, healing, and deliverance. I never forget Pastor Peter with that young Indian girl, that she was in the wheelchair. And then even my son told me, Mom, did you see that girl walked out to the wheelchair? She gave her testimony on this platform. So I can see with my eyes what happened here. And the healing that took place in this place. I remember the time when we had the Andrew Cafe. When we do evangelize, we see Muslims come to salvation, and also healing, and Hindus and other religion. And you know what, one of the things I've been growing this church, and it's a blessing to me, and my heart is with TICC, and I love it. Not only that, it's my home family. And when I come here, I feel comfortable because I have so many people surrounded me. Like they're, your spiritual friends, and it's my home church.
Well, Nathan, how do you feel when you hear the people of the church talk like that?
Really beautiful stories, and obviously they have a great appreciation for you and what you've done starting the church.
Well, I was here from the beginning, so of course I'm glad somebody can remember those early days, but now you're the lead pastor, the one in charge, but I don't think we are fighting about who gets the most appreciation here, because I know how much people enjoy what you're teaching and sharing. Now, in that service as well, we have a lot happening today. And just to interject again, keep calling to the Grace Prayer Center. Call, send me text messages. You see the information there. We want to pray and believe with you. And we are talking about when the curse is broken. In just a moment, you'll hear a fantastic message. But you interviewed me in that special service here in Toronto. So
yeah, first time, so that's good. Let's watch it.
We got that as well.
Awesome. What is that core motivation?
Well, I think that ultimately it goes back to love. We love others because God has loved us. If you know that God has loved you, you love others. And then I saw a need in Canada. I want to see a church that's in the middle of the community where people can come and receive Christ. And I'm not saying that there aren't other churches that are doing a good work, but I felt that there was a great need here in Toronto. And you know, now with this renovation, how beautiful this is. But you know, 100 years ago, maybe I'm getting off topic here, Nathan, 100 or so years ago, in any community, the church was the community center. Whatever you did it at the church. In our day, it's like a church building is something over on the side, and there's banquet halls, there's all kinds of places. So even with this renovation, the vision has always been we wanted to have an auditorium where the community was coming. I just heard yesterday already that 3 of the schools in this neighborhood have already booked this auditorium for their high school or school graduation in May. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That there will be a flow of people coming through here, and then there's, oh yeah, that's also a church. That kind of was a nice looking auditorium, but it's a church, so they'll feel free to come here. So this is, I'm off topic, but anyhow.
No.
Okay.
You know, Pastor Peter, many times a lot of churches are started every day. Many of them don't succeed. When did you realize that this church plant, because there was risk in it? Yeah, you were a successful pastor in St. Catharines at the time, but there was risk in starting this church. When did you know this church would actually continue to flourish to be what it is today?
Oh, I'm always a little nervous, but then I have to go to the Lord in prayer, you know. So I just, as that I went back, I was looking at some of my old documents, and I just accidentally saw the document that I had written in 2000, maybe in April and May, where I'd laid out the plan for how we would start the church in Toronto. On such and such a date, we would do such and such a thing, and then some days later, we would do such and such a thing. And so I guess we were always just saying, Lord, help us. I look at it like this, Nathan, that Jesus said, I will build my church. Certainly we'll do everything we can, but you know, if the Lord isn't in it, it probably won't do very good anyhow, so we always count on the Lord being in it. This sounds very super spiritual maybe, but it's not to me. It's very realistic.
Early memories. We want to hear from you. What are some from those beginning days memories that you have? Some maybe individuals, maybe circumstances, maybe Sundays, you know, maybe humorous, maybe serious. Putting him on the spot here. I didn't send him the questions in advance.
I wish you would have forewarned me, because I had 2 things flash into my mind that aren't very edifying. But you know, we were in a hotel. We had meetings in a hotel out here on the 401. It's not even a hotel anymore. They changed it into an apartment complex. And I remember all the lugging and doing things. And I remember our wonderful Korean Garden Church, how beautifully they hosted us. But I think once a year they had an extra long meeting, and I remember standing outside, you know, like out in the foyer with a couple of hundred people, and we're saying, please, dear Korean friends, stop your service, it's our time now. So there was always those kind of little things. And then I remember us looking for a location. You know how hard it is to find a location in Toronto, not only an industrial building that you can turn into an auditorium, but with parking. Parking. And you know, the United Churches downtown, they have 5 parking spots, but they were grandfathered in 100 years ago, and now we had city bylaws to contend with, so I remember all of that. But most of all, the faces of the people who are coming into the church, and we're so happy, and that's what brought the joy to me, seeing the people.
Well, I hope that our story encourages you. You know, whenever you receive a project, an assignment from the Lord, there are some hurdles to overcome, and we certainly face those. And I hope that our story is helping you to believe that the same God who was faithful to us, He'll be faithful to you as well. Before Pastor Nathan comes to give his message, we also had our member of provincial legislator with us, Mr. Michael Coteau. So I wanted you to hear just a brief excerpt of what he shared with our congregation on this special Sunday as well.
I want to, in my official capacity as the member of provincial parliament, congratulate each and every one of you for your time and commitment to the completion of this very significant renovation. It's always important, I think, to have a common place where people can come and be together to work on issues that they care about, to worship together. And this is an amazing example of community coming together to achieve something. So congratulations. I was here a few months ago, just before the election, and I know that each of the political parties were invited to come out and speak. And it was a really great occasion for me because I got to come out and to meet people. And in fact, even looking in the audience and looking around today, you know, I recognize people from the community. My children would go to school with your children. And it is a real honor to be here today. And I will be back. You may see me once in a while sitting in the back, just participating, but I just want to say thank you so much for your hard work and dedication, and make this community, Don Valley East, a better place for each and every one of us. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone on the board. I appreciate you having me here this morning. God bless you.
And we hope that that echoes in your heart wherever you're visiting from any part across Canada or across the world. When you're in Toronto, make the Toronto Celebration Church your home, your spiritual home away from home. Or if you live in the GTA, a lot of people drive a long distance to come here and go to some effort to make it every Sunday, even though they live in other parts, because, you know, GTA is such a large area. And we just so much enjoy what God is doing. And so we welcome you to this church family. So often we talk about what's happening around the world and what the Lord is doing. But today we're just saying, look, something wonderful is happening here in Toronto. Well, right now, I've been talking about it. Here we go. Pastor Nathan Thurber's message.
We pick up the story of Sidon in the book of Genesis. And in the book of Genesis, Genesis chapter 9, in fact, there's a man. You may have heard of him. His name is Noah. Anybody ever heard of Noah? He built the big boat, and he went for a ride on the water. There was a lot of water at that time, right? And the scriptures say that Noah, after the flood subsided, maybe he was stressed out, I don't know what, but he planted a vineyard. And with that vineyard, he got some real good grapes. And with those good grapes, he made some vintage wine, and he enjoyed his wine. In fact, Noah enjoyed his wine so much that one day he got incredibly drunk. Incredibly drunk. So drunk that he ended up with no clothes on, naked. I don't know about you, but I don't know if anyone in this room has ever been so drunk that you have had no clothes on, but this is Noah, the father of our faith, that we're talking about. But remember, this has something to do with the motivation and purpose of our church. But here is Noah, naked, passed out, drunk. Some of our heroes of faith have some colored pasts, colored histories. So there he is, naked, drunk, passed out. And one of his sons, he stumbles across his father there in the vineyard, naked, passed out, and drunk. And he thinks he's having a little fun at his father's expense, so he goes back. By the way, the son's name is Ham. He goes back and finds the other brothers, and he says, hey guys, Daddy's drunk and he's passed out. Come take a look. He's naked. So he has a little chuckle at his father's expense. Well, Noah wakes up out of his drunken stupor. And by the way, this is the scriptures. Go look it up. He wakes up out of his drunken stupor, probably a little bit hungover. I've never been to the point of passing out, and that, but I'm told it's not a pleasant feeling when you come out of it. So I'm sure he was a little bit kind of crusty, right? So he's mad at Ham for making fun of him. I mean, he's just angry at Ham for making fun of him. So he curses Ham. He said, Ham, you're cursed. Now, in that ancient culture, cursing somebody, especially if it's your father, cursing, it was a big, big deal. And that curse hung over you like a dark cloud or a wet blanket for all your days. I mean, it followed you everywhere that you went. So Ham is cursed. Not only, to make matters worse in that ancient culture, that when you were cursed, it meant your generations after you were cursed. Your sons are cursed. Their sons are cursed. I mean, it just followed you for generation after generation. And so Ham had some children. His oldest was Canaan. And then Canaan, so he was cursed. And then Canaan had some children, and they were cursed too. Canaan's oldest son, and here we go, his name was Sidon. I told you Sidon had a part to play in this. But you say, well, it sounds like a pretty messed up family to me. Well, it was. So here's Sidon, and he's a part of the cursed side of Noah's family. And Sidon, he goes and has a whole lot of children. So many children that, in fact, the scriptures say he starts a whole nation. And when you read the Old Testament, you see the nation of Sidon over and over again. They became a nation. And this nation, we see them time and time again written about in the scriptures. In fact, in Judges chapter 9, the scriptures say that this nation of Sidon, they attacked the Hebrew people. They attacked Israel. So you see what's going on, right? You have one family two splits. You have a cursed side and a blessed side, and there is family drama going on that would make your Thanksgiving drama look like child's play. You think you got drama? These guys were going at it. So the Sidonites, they attacked the Hebrew people, they conquered them, they oppressed them, they beat them up, they tortured them. So you can see there's a lot of animosity between the two sides of the family. To make matters worse, the Hebrew people, they had this great king, the greatest of all time. His name was Solomon. Ever heard of Solomon? I mean, he did wonders for the GDP of the Hebrew people. I mean, wonders. He brought prosperity and blessing like Donald Trump could only ever hope of getting. He's got his 4.2%. Solomon, I mean, he was off the chart. He was amazing. But Solomon got off track. He became a shadow of his former self. Why? He started marrying all these women that detracted him, sidetracked him away from his purpose. Where were these women from? They were Sidonites. They were from the nation of Sidon. Then a few generations later, there was another Israeli king, and his name was Ahab, and he married a special case. You know what her name is? Her name was Jezebel. You don't want to name your daughter Jezebel. You don't want to marry a Jezebel, right? I don't even need to explain it. She's so infamous. Guess where Jezebel was from? You got it, Sidon. So there is a lot of family history going on here, a lot at play. The Hebrew people, from the blessed side of Noah's family, they had prophets. Ezekiel, Jeremiah, Isaiah, to name a few. Each one of those, they cursed the people of Sidon. They said they're bad people. God's going to get them. You're going to be judged. You're cursed, etc., etc. So you have all this at play. And then you fast forward a few more generations, and who shows up on the scene? Jesus. Jesus is born into this setting. He's born unto the blessed side of Noah's family. He's born in that culture that said this people of Sidon, they're the cursed ones. They're the bad ones. They're the ones that God doesn't like, right? So Jesus shows up, and he purports himself to be a religious leader, a rabbi. And then he says, by the way, I'm also the Son of God, and I represent what God is like. But he doesn't follow the protocol. In fact, we see in Mark that Jesus, he went to Sidon. He went to the nation of Sidon. I mean, the Hebrew people, they didn't set foot in Sidon. They didn't talk to the people of Sidon. They were cursed. They were bad people, right? Jesus went to Sidon. To make matters even worse, at one point in the scriptures, this is recorded that Jesus said that he was amazed by their faith. These cursed people that we hate, he's amazed by their faith. And then he heals some of the people from Sidon. He heals them. Heals them. No wonder the Hebrew people, they hated him. No wonder they eventually killed him. And then, to make it all just the icing on the cake, he's going around to his own people in the Hebrew people, the blessed side of Noah's family. And some of them aren't believing him. Some of them are doubting, and they're not receiving from him. And you know what he says? It's going to be better off on the day of judgment for the people of Sidon than it is for you. I mean, if that doesn't blow their mind, I don't know what it blew their mind. I mean, they ended up killing him. You say, well, what does that have anything to do with our mission statement, our purpose of this church? Because just like the culture that Jesus was from, that he found himself in, they were in a situation where they were choosing who was included in God's love and who is excluded. They were choosing who does God love and who does he exclude, who is he for, who is he against. Jesus came and he obliterated every bit of that understanding. Of course, they got mad about it. They didn't all accept it. But he came to say, you know what, that's not what God's like. God isn't choosing, well, Sidon's out and you guys are in. They said, you know what, everyone's included. The scriptures say that Jesus, he is the light of the world, and he came to be a light in the understanding of people. People like the Hebrews that we just read about, that felt that they were God's special ones, that they were included in God's love, but the others, like the people of Sidon, they were excluded. They weren't included in God's love, in his blessing, in his grace. Jesus came to say, you know what? I represent God, and I am God, and I represent what he's like, and I'm telling you, you're all included.
What a powerful reminder that was, Nathan, about that God has included everyone. And you referred to our mission statement. In fact, our producer put it up there as we were watching you. Just read that so that people can get that. And this is applicable. This is not just for our church. It's applicable anywhere. Read this to us,
Our
Nathan.
purpose is to use every opportunity in every possible place with every possible method to reach every possible person with the gospel of Jesus Christ.
And so the word every is there. Every opportunity, every possible place, every possible method, every possible person. And so you're really going all out on that to be totally inclusive.
Yeah.
Now, talk a little bit more. What does that mission statement mean to you, Nathan?
Well, it means opportunity. It means you're open to different ways of sharing the gospel. In other words, not just one way, you know, being open to change and different things. Another big way is, and we do this, you've asked your partners over this last year to, you know, give out gospel booklets that you wrote, the Enlightenment book. And we as a church, we have adopted that. And so every Sunday we put on every chair of our services one book. And I stand up there, whoever, and we say, take one book this week and give it to one person. Let's share the gospel with one person this week, because I've found that even myself, if there's not a reminder to share the gospel, a whole week can go by and we don't even share it with one person. So that's something tangible that we do every single week. But it just goes throughout the whole ethos of the church of, you know, whatever we do, how are we going to share that? And then, as we heard in the message, of tearing down this idea that God is for only certain people. You know, it kind of permeates, you know, false religious teachings, and we can all be prone to it. So we all have to be very cognizant of that. We work hard at that in our messages, in our songs, and, you know, and it doesn't, not just from this platform, you saw me on the platform, but, you know, whether it be our children's ministry, you know, you included, I remember a meeting just a few months ago, reminder, you know, don't use hell to beat these kids into submission, but help them to experience God's love. I know as a child, you know, hell scared me into saying a prayer, but it wasn't until I experienced His love that my life was changed. And so whether it be right from the newborns up to the seniors, we work hard at making sure this vision, purpose, it permeates everything we do.
Let me jump in and say, wherever you are in the country, you can order this little book, Enlightenment. You'll see it on the bottom of the screen. I'm giving them out. In fact, Nathan, you inspire me, so I never want to let a week go by without doing one or two or three. I'm trying to say, let's do even more than one, but I just keep them in my pocket, and then I can just share a little seed for the gospel with people. We're down to the last few seconds, Nathan. The message of Sidon is a message of people who were cursed. As far as everybody's opinion around, I should say, they were cursed. They were the lowest of the low. And what I wanted to send through this program and through the message that Nathan shared about these cursed people is that the curse is broken. I do meet people who say, somehow I think I'm cursed. Well, you may feel that way. You may think that way. I understand. I'm not trying to argue with you about it. But I'm saying that Jesus Christ became a curse for you, that every blessing is yours because of the Lord Jesus Christ. We're down to the last few seconds. I want you to go to your telephone, call the Grace Prayer Center. Thank you for everybody who's helping us to reach the world. Send me your text message. Use your phone and get a hold of me. Send me text messages. Ask for the free material, the magazine. You've seen it advertised. We love you. We hope this was a blessing to you. See you next time.
Thank you. Your participation makes this global gospel ministry possible. To share your prayer request or to help bring the gospel to those who have never heard it, call 416-745-1820. You can give at www.peteryoungren.org or send your gift to World Impact Ministries at P.O. Box 62039 RPO Victoria Terrace, North York, Ontario, M4A 2W1, or P.O. Box 433 Winchester, Kentucky 40392-9800. Together, let's give everyone a chance to know God's love in Jesus Christ.